Quick question. How many of you, not today, let's say yesterday, watched a YouTube video? Yeah, so pretty much everyone. How many of you are actively doing YouTube advertising? So you see my point over there, right? Every one of you, which represents a target market for someone, is on YouTube, and that's the fact, and it's about connecting to these people, right? Now, I'm just going to take you through a deck to just paint a bit of context, because I believe in the environment that we're in now, YouTube seems to be a bit of a hard sell. People not quite understanding why it's so important. It's not just a video network where cats on skateboards, as we like to call it. It's actually a social sharing community, and it's actually very valuable. And I'm going to explain to you a different type of media model that we're looking at, which might help you in the whole selling of the YouTube value proposition before we actually get into the ins and outs of YouTube. So as a marketer, what keeps me up at night is that there's a lot of people out there, right? Now, it's a question of how do we actually engage with our target audience, all right? So we need to, as a brand, as a personal brand, figure out ways to engage. Engagement is kind of like the key thing about YouTube, and it's kind of a key, it's kind of the evolution of reach. You know, we speak about reach and reaching people. Now we speak about engagement. Engagement's actually valuable. So how do we do this? There's kind of three pillars in which YouTube are looking at now. It's finding your valuable audience, expressing your brand, and getting people to participate. So it's not just, in a very fragmented world, it's about actually getting that brand loyalty. How do you do that? There's so many options out there now. How do you get people to talk with you instead of you talking at them? That's really valuable. When we talk about social media, and it's become such a massive thing, YouTube is part of your social media strategy. So here's the traditional marketing funnel. For all you marketers out there, I'm sure you're very well aware of this. There are many versions of this. We learned this in our 4 Ps of Marketing 101. But I think we can all agree that this funnel is a little bit out of date. I don't believe that the consumer journey is as linear as this anymore. So we need to start rethinking that consumer journey, right? So this is kind of where the different forms of media fall. You've got your TV, your traditional media, which falls into the awareness side of things. You've got your digital, which is you guys here, basically taking that intent and capturing it and driving it to your own space to actually transact, convert, experience the brand, etc. So what do we believe at YouTube? We believe reach is cheap. I think that's a very important thing to think about, and engagement is actually what we're after, and engagement is actually what brings intrinsic value. Now, when we look at it with these eyes, then reach is actually cheap, but reach isn't as cheap as it used to be. In a fragmented world, getting that reach where people are across devices, on the go, we'll talk about a new type of Generation C, which are the people that are on YouTube. These are the guys that are light TV viewers, right? They fall into the light engagement side of things when you talk about mass media. And when we look at this as an engagement funnel, mapping media against engagement, we want that active engagement, right? Generally in marketing speak, we start wide and then we bring people in. And that's the way we look. We're looking for that 5% that matter after spending a hell of a lot of money going wide and in. And I'm basically going to be saying to you guys, I think we need to be flipping this around. Instead of starting wide, start with that 5% where you get your active engagement, right? Apologies, thought there was an animation on that. That 5% of people that you can actively engage with, whether it's with YouTube, whether it's with your own properties. I'm not saying don't do any kind of TV or mass media type of advertising, but that 5% will work for you in a way that spending a whole lot of money from a reach point of view and a traditional marketing point of view won't get you. So, I think a lot of you guys will be, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about search marketing, but I think a lot of you guys will be aware of the term always on. Be always on in search. Be always visible when people are at least searching for your brand. YouTube's got another way of looking at it called being always in. What does that mean? Always in the conversation, speaking with your audience. And when you're trying to build that intrinsic value, this is something that you need to be thinking about as a brand. People, again, with the amount of fragmentation and choice that's out there, brands are winning. That's what's actually winning. A lot of the time we find in very performance-driven environments, we get so fixated on our cost per acquisition and driving leads, when what's actually happening in the background is that the actual intrinsic value of the brand is what's winning. And if we focus our direction on that, that's going to drive your performance too. Company like Nike, right? So I'm just talking, why is YouTube so important? A company like Nike, they drop 40% of their spend in a year on traditional media, but their advertising spend has grown. Where's it going? It's going to engagement. It's going to experience. And you can see by the stock price, they're doing pretty well. So if I take you a bit further now, and we look at how to find your most valuable audience. So I think the big point, and I was just at another YouTube session now, is that, yes, that's a big number, right? 800 million monthly visitors globally. Big number. Second biggest search engine in the world. The idea is that your audience is on YouTube. That's the point. They're there. They are currently active on YouTube within their own communities, and it's about you connecting the dots to find them. And obviously through YouTube advertising, which we're going to touch on, it's about drawing these people in. From a South African context, we're also pretty big, right? 4.1 million, that's local visitors rather, 3 million views a day, and people are searching on YouTube. Who are these people? I mentioned to you something called Generation C. Now, this is a very, very lucrative demographic, right? 4 C's. Guys that are curating content, aggregating content, sharing content, connecting. 91% of these people sleep with their phones next to their bed, constantly connected, feel with anxiety if their mobile phone's not with them. They're on the go. They're light TV viewers. These are the guys that are on YouTube, sharing on their social networks every day. And this is a very lucrative demographic. Your young moms, your millennials, this is the guys in the upper LSMs too, tech savvy, and this is where, demographics are moving. Now, an interesting case study, right? Unilever conducted a case study where they found out and it was an elaborate case study, that 53% of the people that ended up purchasing their products were not part of what they thought their demographic or target audience was. I think that's incredible, because we're always thinking, and I'll tell you why I think this is important, is we're always thinking, this is my target audience. This is who my target audience is. A lot of the time, you actually don't know. And YouTube advertising through the TrueView ad format actually allows people to choose you. That's the point, right? And you're only paying for when someone decides to choose you or your brand or your product or your service. And I think that's very important when we start talking about targeting on YouTube, and from a TrueView ad format point of view, is that we need to stop fixating on particular demographics and just let people choose you. You will only pay if someone decides to choose to watch your ad, and by choosing you, will remember you more and potentially share you. Interesting stat, out of the top 100 global advertisers on YouTube, for every 2 paid views that they spend, they get 1 free view in terms of people actually sharing their ad if it's good. So, I'll get into the details of TrueView advertising, but, when we talk about this, and, Paul went through an elaborate display, GDN, remarketing, and it's very intricate. I think YouTube is actually a lot simpler because of this fact that people will choose your brand, and you need to be as visible as possible so that people can choose you. Now, another question I'm going to ask you. So out of the few of you that are actually actively doing YouTube advertising, how many of you guys are doing YouTube search advertising? Very, very small percentage. Let's recap on what I said before. What is the second biggest search engine in the world? Not Bing. Didn't hear Bing. Didn't hear Microsoft. YouTube. People are searching on YouTube a hell of a lot. They may not be searching directly for what you're advertising, but you can get savvy about these things. You can think about it. You know, the YouTube Trends dashboard, I don't know how many of you guys go onto that, but you know, that kind of keeps you up to date with what's happening on YouTube, and you know, smart, nimble advertisers can potentially capitalize. You know, there were a whole host of people advertising on the Gangnam Style video and in and around all those terms. You know, potentially creating custom content for what's trending on YouTube. That's another way of being nimble and capturing the demand that's already there. So customers are looking for you, and it's about being present, right? So the last pillar that I'll get through is expressing your brand in a compelling way. This speaks to the whole brand channel experience. You know, essentially, your brand channel is your home for your video content. It's an unbelievable property. It's a great property that fits into an overarching digital strategy. You know, guys sending people from their channel to their website, to their Facebook page, people sharing across networks. You know, it's best to look at these things from a holistic point of view when we want to bake this into our strategy. And it really works if we look at it from a holistic point of view. And obviously now we're able to have this experience on a mobile phone. 1 in 4 views on YouTube globally, as well as South Africa, is on a mobile phone. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty big as well, if you think about the numbers. So you're able to serve TrueView ads on mobile phones, on Android devices, which is also very cool. And it's a very intimate experience if you think about it. Your phone's your personal assistant. You know, there's no clutter, there's no distraction. You've got a good ad. People will remember that, and you won't be charged if they don't remember it, which is also a good thing. Yeah, we all know this one. So I mentioned earlier, Gangnam Style hit 1 billion views. I was in a presentation earlier. So Justin Bieber video, that took 3 years to get to around 759 million views. That was the previous #1 video. Gangnam Style took 3 months to get to 1 billion. Gives you an idea of how things are accelerating. You know, we all say in our daily lives, wow, I can't believe it's, you know, already March, time's going fast. It's happening in technology too. Things are absolutely speeding up. You know, now with this whole Harlem Shake thing, you know, it's also becoming massive. I missed Declan's performance earlier, unfortunately. And big brands are capitalizing on this, you know, making mashups, advertising on the videos, creating similar type content, all right? So lastly this, and I think this is pretty important. YouTube's a social platform. Over 100 million social shares happen on YouTube a week. It's massive. People are forwarding, sharing, commenting, and as a brand, this is something that, you know, it's that intrinsic value that you can really generate. Don't worry about that. And then there's something too about YouTube which I think is fantastic. If you're dealing with advertisers that are involved in, you know, the traditional media space, you know, understanding what videos work, where people drop off in videos, where they're coming from, who's embedding their videos, where, you know, who's your influencers, who are your advocates, establishing connections with those people through YouTube analytics. You can get a whole host of information on that and definitely help you grow your audience. It's basically the world's best focus group, if you think about it. So much goes into production and traditional media, and you could save so much money by letting the audience not only choose you, but let your audience tell you. So it's something to keep in mind for you guys dealing with clients like that. Again, so I just wanted to show you and to recap. From an active engagement point of view, having a brand channel, being involved when people are searching for you, digital media, obviously taking that intent and then kind of flipping the funnel and then going for the reach. And I think if you concentrate on that 5–10% and actively engage them, they can do so much more work for you than you going wide and then trying to get to that 5%. Cool, and that's just basically a summary of that. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit cheeky. How many of you use YouTube for tutorials, how-tos, all that kind of stuff? Everyone, right? And we're going to use one today. Okay? So I'm going to play you a 7-minute video on how to get started with YouTube. In my opinion, I believe YouTube advertising is relatively simple. A tidbit of information to give you. This will help your YouTube advertising. I said to you that, getting fixated on types of categories or topics or interests is something that you can get stuck on YouTube by. Why? YouTube categorize videos based on their metadata, their tagging, their descriptions. Google or YouTube can't read the actual audio-visual content, right? That's not something that YouTube can categorize. So a lot of the videos get categorized into what we call the arts and entertainment. And a lot of the videos are in arts and entertainment. Now, if you want to drive an effective YouTube campaign or TrueView campaign, and you want to get some real traction out of it, honing in on those specific categories or interests potentially will limit you in terms of the reach that you'll get. And by reach, I mean the number of times your TrueView ad can be shown. But again, I'm bringing you back to the point that you will only be charged if your target audience, who you may or may not know, will choose you. So you don't need to drill into those kind of details. In my opinion, TrueView advertising works best when you go wide, and then you'll see the results from there. Anyway, so I'm going to take you through the 7-minute video. We're also, just in case we have internet issues, because I'd like to take you through a live demo too. Let's hope the sound works. It works. Internet connection's a bit up and down. But before I get into that, so your YouTube strategy needs to fit into an overarching strategy or digital strategy you may have. You saw there were four TrueView ad formats: in search, in display, in slate, and in stream. Okay, so in search meaning I search for it, the sponsored video comes up. In display, it suggested if I'm on a watch page watching a video, it can appear on the right-hand side. In slate, after I viewed a video, it can appear as an ad. And in stream is that pre-roll ad where you get that option to skip when you're watching a video, right? Now, in stream being our main ad format. But something to bear in mind too, and I'll take you through the advanced options, is that part of that is you want to ask yourself, so what do you want to get out of this? Do you want to send people to your channel to engage them further? Do you want to get people to your website in terms of getting them to your website, lead generation, conversions, transactions, etc.? For in search and in display, you're able to actually send people directly to your channel, which is important to know because if you're advertising and people are searching for you, do you want them to have a channel experience or do you want them just to watch the video, the ad that you may be promoting? That's one thing you need to think about. The other thing you need to think about, and it was important where it ended off there, is linking your YouTube and Adwords accounts together. What that allows you to do is two very important things. And hopefully I'll be able to show it to you, but I'll tell it to you just in case. So linking your YouTube and Adwords accounts will allow you to have remarketing lists. And those remarketing lists, as Paul elaborately went through with you, can be very powerful. Those remarketing lists are auto-populated for you. It is the only remarketing list in existence that can be created without someone coming to your website. You can create remarketing lists on the YouTube environment. That's very powerful in terms of reach, right? You can have remarketing lists for people that liked your video, subscribed to your channel, engaged with your video, clicked to play, and I'll show you a whole bunch of options. Now, what makes it even more cool is you can take that YouTube remarketing list and use it for your GDN, Google Display Advertising remarketing campaigns too. So it's another area, another way to develop an audience for you to send a tailored message to, which is very powerful. And the last thing, the other thing which is super important is by linking your accounts, you're able to do something called a call to action overlay, where essentially your ad will have a little text box saying, visit our website, we got an awesome promotion, click here, like a little text ad, and it will take someone directly to your website. Now, you can only do those two things if you link your accounts, so very important. I think maybe before I get into the demo, Does anyone have any questions on that? Yeah.
I have a website where I create video content played off my YouTube channel. In the YouTube channel, you see the TrueView ads, but when it's accessed via the website, the ads don't display.
So you're saying the same YouTube video has been embedded on your website?
Yes.
And you're not seeing ads on that?
Yeah, so you can watch the video via my website and you don't see any YouTube ads. But when you go via my YouTube channel, then you see the ads.
So when you monetize and enable monetization, there's an option to enable monetization on embedded videos. You have to select that in your YouTube account. There'll be a monetization section, and then just enable monetization for, it's essentially an embedded video, and then you should receive ads on that.
So as an advertiser, then there are people that can block you from being shown on their websites, in other words?
Yeah. And there are ways through AdSense that you can do that too, directly through AdSense. Because remember this, the ads that are being served are actually running through AdSense. So if you have an AdSense account, you can actually block specific domains and specific URLs. So that works as well if you're a particular brand and you don't want your competitors all over your videos, right? Yeah, you can do that via AdSense. Are there any other questions? Probably people have questions will probably be more valuable at this stage. Yeah.
How long is the average approval process, approval time? Because I've noticed that with my app, it takes usually about a week.
The average approval time takes a week, did you say?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
The only time that it ever gets approved is if I contact Google.
Yeah, that's not good. You know, it's supposed to be within 24 to 48 hours.
Is it because the Adwords account is fairly new? So is it the history of the account as well?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, I don't have much insight into that, to be honest. Obviously, Google is servicing millions and millions of advertisers, so turnaround times sometimes can be frustrating. You're not definitely the only person I've heard that from. It sounds like a long time, but it might be worth just contacting someone through the contact center and just, you know, asking them, you know, what is the proper turnaround time, and anything outside of that, you contact them directly. Sorry, I don't have a proper answer for you. We'll send that feedback though. We're about customer love, so that's not good. Anyone else?
Hi. When you link the AdWords account to your YouTube account,
Yeah.
As well as your analytics, will those conversions be attributed? So your search conversions will be attributed to search, and your YouTube conversions will be attributed to YouTube, so you can track that all properly.
In analytics, are you saying?
Yeah, in analytics. If the goal was created in analytics
Yeah,
and imported.
so YouTube tracking and analytics is a bit of a bogey at the moment. I see some people agreeing in the audience. Yeah, so right now from a channel point of view, you're able to track it. From a video URL point of view, it's actually quite difficult to see. I know from the analytics team that they're working seriously hard on that, because YouTube's become such a valuable advertising proposition, and analytics I don't think has kept to speed with YouTube tracking. So to be honest, the reporting is not fantastic. On a YouTube channel point of view, if someone came from your channel, it's easy to track.
But you won't see which specific
Yeah,
video
so
was
when you start drilling into the video information, it doesn't have that.
Okay. Good, thanks.
Anyone else? I can open up questions at the end, so all right, let's do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to take you through, let's create a campaign. I think Paul mentioned that all things wonderful in AdWords is generally in the bottom left. Another very cool report they've just moved into the things was the search funnel report, but all video campaigns. And I think what that video didn't touch on necessarily is we can maybe talk about targeting techniques, and what works and what doesn't work, and how we can do it from there. Let's hope that the internet plays nice. Always, they're the demo gods. You know, every time I have to actually present, something new happens on my computer that has never happened before. Unbelievable. Okay, well, how about I just talk you through it then? I'm going to try my own phone network. Anyone in the audience, you know, have any that do YouTube advertising, have any learnings, have anything that they'd like to say? I generally find feedback is pretty good. And if you have any questions, if you do a lot of YouTube advertising, I'm supposed to know this stuff. So if you have any burning desire to ask a question, now's your time.
Hi. Sorry, it's not specifically related to what you're doing right now, but I just wanted to understand in terms of handsets and mobile users, especially when we're looking at a more pan-African market, what are they seeing in terms of YouTube advertising on handsets? Are we still talking, are users on non-smartphones able to see YouTube advertising at this stage?
No. The only handset that you can see TrueView advertising on is the Android operating system, which is it's using the YouTube app, and that's generally on a smartphone. So your feature phone, your tier 2 phone environment, most likely they'll be watching YouTube videos, but they won't be seeing TrueView ads. Okay, so let's go through demo. Let's create a new video campaign. While I'm doing this, if you think of anything also, please feel free to ask. This is an interactive session. We're about listening and participating. This is what YouTube's about. Okay. So, Google Engage. Don't spell it that way. Budget, 1,000 Rand. So your delivery method, you have standard or accelerated. Accelerated means show my ads as quickly as possible, as soon as possible. As a YouTube advertiser, would you want that? I'm asking you. What's that? No, agreed. Why? What time do people often consume video content? In the evenings, right? So if you go and serve your ads gun-ho in the morning, you potentially are missing out on your audience in the evenings, or you might not be serving it in the right proportion. So just consider that a standard delivery will basically even out, based on your daily budget, it'll even out the serving of ads throughout the course of a 24-hour day. Accelerated delivery will deliver as quickly as possible. Countries, we'll say South Africa, and then we'll select a video. Now, when you get into the placement side of things, I've got a couple interesting videos on my channel. I got the privilege of interviewing Dave Hasselhoff, so we'll select that one over here. If you YouTube, I was about to say Google, if you YouTube Jared Molko the Hoff, you'll see this video, which is quite funny. Now, from a targeting point of view, in the video I'd mentioned you can target videos via specific videos, or you can target via channel. If you are going for a placement and you target via the channel, you're targeting all the videos that are in that channel. Why is that important? Channels represent audiences, right? So if you can go into the YouTube Trends dashboard, YouTube charts, do a little bit of scouring yourself. What are the big channels in South Africa? Who are the big guys? You know, what content do they represent? By targeting that channel, you're speaking to that audience, which is very interesting. So I'm going to select my Hoff interview. Now, you'll see that it will automatically select all 4 TrueView ad formats. If I wanted to choose, I'm not a big fan of Inslate, so I'm going to deselect that, and you'll see that the dots will come up over here, so I'm partially serving on those networks. In-stream, in-display, and in-search. Those are goodies, right? Now, I'm going to select a thumbnail. Thumbnails are very important. They get auto-generated, but be smart on the thumbnails you choose. General best practice around thumbnails: high contrast, big image, big boobs, sex sells. I'm kidding. Don't be misleading. That's a bad user experience. So headline: Google Engage rocks. Hope you've learnt something today. 1 exclamation mark allowed. Okay, just putting in my URLs. Test 1. Now advanced attributes over here. So for the 2 ad formats that I mentioned before, in search and in display, you can select to send someone to your channel, which is the default, or to the watch page. For me, I would recommend the channel. You know, the person will watch that video. If you want to keep them in the watch page and you've got a specific call to action with the click-to-call overlay, sending someone to your website, that'll probably work better. If you want to engage with the person on your channel to get that kind of participation, get them to subscribe using annotations in your videos, and you want to build an audience on YouTube, then I would suggest sending them to your channel. So it just kind of depends on how you're using YouTube. Are you using it for engagement? Or are you using it as almost a lead generation exercise, but on a video platform? Companion banners. So this is pretty cool. You can upload a complementary banner to your TrueView ad, which will appear on the right-hand side. So if you're on the watch page, it'll appear over here. If you don't upload, and this is a 300 by 250 or 300 by 60 banner, if you don't upload a banner, YouTube will automatically populate what's called a companion video wall, where it will take your videos on your channel and almost populate it into an image where people then can click on that and go to your channel, which is really nice of YouTube. So it depends on what you want. Do you want a custom banner? I mean, we find the performance of a companion banner, speaking to like complementing a TrueView ad, does really well from a click-through rate point of view. So you may want to consider that when uploading. Yeah, so that's fine. Now, I think people generally forget about this. So you can optimize your ad rotation for conversions or rotate evenly or for views. Depends on what you want. I think frequency capping is very important. You know, if you don't frequency cap, things can get a little bit away from you. So general best practice for a user within a month is, you know, 4 to 6 times. If you really want to get your message out there in front of people, then go for it. But just keep in mind frequency capping, and it's available to you. Now, you can do device targeting too. So if you go in here, currently we've opted into these devices. And we can target specific mobile tablet operating systems. You've heard about enhanced campaigns, so this functionality still remains true within the video context. Within the Google display context and the video context, you can still target via specific operating systems and device. So this may play into your strategy. I wouldn't think too hard about whether a device represents a demographic or an audience. I would think more about letting people choose you, as I mentioned before. So we'll save and continue. That's weird. Apparently I have a violation.
Jared, just to let you know, you're about 5 minutes over, so we might get some people.
5 minutes over? Okay.
Got some people coming in.
Oh, sorry, I've got here 4 minutes remaining. So, okay, let me leave you with a couple things then. TrueView, so we mentioned reach is cheap, right? Reach is cheap, engagement is valuable. In the audience, anyone have an idea of what a cost per view will cost you in South Africa at the moment? And cost per engaged view, right? It's got high intrinsic value. If I'm an advertiser, I'd want 10,000 engaged views over 50,000 impressions that people may or may not have engaged with or seen. Any idea? Yeah. Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yeah. Depends on how aggressive you want to go. But right now, for an engaged view, anywhere between 90 cents, R1.50, R1.70, depends on the type of video content that you're going for. Very popular content obviously works on an auction-based model, so competitors are driving the price a bit. So, you know, that's it. When it comes to targeting, you can target via keywords, very important. People are searching for you. You can target via interests and topics. If there's one thing that I can leave you with here is that let the audience choose you. Very important. You know, if you're speaking to people specifically in the home and guardian interest or topic, you're not going to get as much traction out of a YouTube campaign as you may like. It may be hyper relevant, which is fantastic, but there's no harm in targeting other demographics, other interests, or other topics, because at the end of the day, whoever chooses to watch your ad has chosen you as the brand or as the advertiser. And that's it. I hope you learned something today. Thank you.